Hello, everyone. We're resuming where we left off, although I guess we have some new MK news. Did you guys see Mortal Kombat 2 trailer?
You don't know Razor very well, do you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yes, we have both seen it.
Actually, I do want to talk about one thing. Why does it look like Baraka has a mouth inside his mouth? Did you catch that?
Yeah, it's pretty much the worst thing about that entire trailer. I will say.
I like his voice either.
Then also, why is Jade bald?
Why is Jade bald? Why does Noob Saibot's shadow have blood? What?
Blood
what is
and
the meaning of
bones and
life?
guts and stuff? Like, it's... Like, I wonder, when I see Noob's shadow clone cut in half, and there's gore in it, and blood and stuff, but it's really poorly animated, I'm thinking... Is it supposed to look fake because it's the shadow clone, or does it look fake because the CGI is bad? I can't tell.
Why not both? Okay, look. I'm going to say this much. I don't like Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. I think he's very poorly cast. I don't think
I would agree with that. He's just doing his Judge Dredd voice.
Yeah.
Why is Johnny Cage doing the Batman growl?
Well, or he's just doing Billy Butcher because he's Billy Butcher on The Boys.
Well, no, but Billy Butcher at least is his natural British accent. This is what he sounds like when he tries to sound American.
Yeah.
I know spoilers for this thing, as many of us out there do already, and it's very fair to say that this film is not going to be for me. However, I'm going to give it a polite nod here and there for a couple of things, like trying to do a game-accurate version of Raiden, some nice-looking hellscapes, the fact that Scorpion and Noob Saibot are even fighting and interacting at all in the first place. That's pretty neat. That's nice to see.
Yeah.
Child's got some fans. It's the thing that blows my mind, really, when I sat down and I watched it about maybe 45 minutes ago, I was just like, I'm just sit down, have a look, be neutral, and just see what comes to me. I'm not going to focus on how I wish it was. Because it's not for me. It's for the next generation of MK fans. It's a movie that's taking more intentionally from the NRS games than it ever will from the originals, and I've made my peace with that. I had my time. What I will say is this. It feels more like something that is Mortal Kombat than MK12 did at all. Consider how fucked up that is.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's a tournament to stop Shao Kahn from invading the Earth. It's got that going for it. It's actually about what Mortal Kombat's about.
Yeah.
I just can't get over the visuals. It looks like it's been shot in, the volume where they shoot all the Disney Plus Star Wars shows, where you can tell it's fake anytime they're outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
The whole movie, even the indoors. Do you remember in the first movie, when Jax fights Reiko on the pit, and their version of the pit felt like a cramped indoor set?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, this is more of that. I just can't get over how fake and bad all the environments look. The movie just feels low budget.
That one shot of the blue portal seemed to be okay-ish.
Yeah, it was.
I'm glad to see the portal anytime, any place.
I wonder how that shot would. I wonder if that shot would hit me in the feels more if it had been orange instead of blue.
Yeah. I also like the blue portal. I mean, you know what? I'll give it this. If I somehow get free tickets to a screening, I'll consider going, or if a friend pays for me.
Yeah. At least it looks like they did listen and they got rid of Cole Young.
He's still in there. He's got his little poster.
He's in there a little bit. Again, we've read some spoilers. Some people saw test screenings months ago and they said things online, and some of those things are out there in the ether. Cole, he's in there a little bit. Just a little bit.
That one sentence just tells you everything you need to know right there.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question. So there is a shot of the trailer of Shao Kahn killing a guy by he stabs him in the hands, and then he runs the pointy end of the hammer, the handle, through his... Was that King Jared? Is that a flashback to that what's going on there? Because I didn't recognize the guy.
No, neither did I. But that's an interesting point. It'd be really interesting to actually see that depicted on screen. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Gotta say this much for it. It's
if
trying
it is...
to give us stuff. It's trying to give us some things, and I'm grateful for that. It's the effort. I wish the effort was in all the right places, but there's some effort. There seems to be more effort already than there was the last time through.
Yeah, I wish the effort was coming from the producers in the form of more money.
All right. Well, I guess we've talked about that enough. Let's resume where we left off at the last stream of Deadly Alliance. I
do believe that our intrepid heroes just journeyed into Outworld.
They just got.
I actually, yeah, we ended on talking about the portal known only to sorcerers and deities, and how everybody was supposed to fight like a mirage of their worst enemy in order to use the portal. And
yeah,
I went through and read them. Like I went back through the Conquest mode texts. And we covered some of these already. Like Shang Tsung fights an image of Quan Chi. Like that's his worst enemy, which is probably true considering how the story is going to end.
Yeah.
Quan Chi's worst enemy is a mirror match. He fights an image of himself. That's weird.
Yeah.
On the one hand, as we discussed last time, it makes a lot of sense because he always is hoist on his own petard. But on the other hand, there was a very, very angry murder specter who's been tormenting him for years and who has more than earned the title of his worst enemy of all time.
Yeah, but if you think about it, when Quan Chi does die at the end of this, it's not to Scorpion. It's technically to Raiden, but Raiden did it because of Onaga, and Onaga's only there because Quan Chi fulfilled the prophecy by resurrecting all the mummies. So technically, his actions did lead to his own death. Technically.
Yeah. And
what are you doing? It was at that moment he realized he fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I loved how I think Raiden was originally going to say, "You don't want to know."
Well, also Onaga. The only reason Onaga is there is because he wants the amulet, which Quan Chi is wearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Sonya fights an image of Movado, who she hasn't even met yet. They were trying to tease that your worst enemy wasn't Kano. The Red Dragons are worse than the Black Dragons.
Yeah, that feels like a little bit of buildup that went absolutely nowhere.
They never did anything with that. I can appreciate that they wanted to, but they never did.
Who does Kung Lao?
So Raiden has an image, like in his Conquest text. He fights an illusion of Quan Chi, which I guess makes sense, because, it has to be one of the Deadly Alliance. They're the whole reason he's doing this.
Yeah.
But Johnny, Jax, and Kung Lao don't get covered. Their Conquest texts do not address who they fight at the Celestial Portal.
Probably Shang Tsung.
I was about to say that, yes, I would agree with that at the moment. He's very much out to avenge his friend.
That is what would make sense, yes.
The Johnny Cage, I could see it being himself because he is his own worst enemy.
You would think.
Logical.
Jax would probably just fighting Su Hao again.
If as in Sonya's case, your worst enemy is the person that you don't naturally know is your worst enemy yet, then Su Hao more than qualifies.
Yeah.
So yeah, the I guess 2 out of 3 were not covered because it would be redundant, because it's the person they're going to, the person they're coming to Outworld specifically to kill. And then just like, who is Johnny's worst enemy? Yeah, I guess it's himself. If it were a few years earlier, they'd have said Goro, even though the two of them never fought outside the 95 movie.
Yeah. And, well...
marketing.
So basically, they go to Outworld, and I guess they all split up and go their separate ways.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing is, like, we talked about everybody has their own different reasons for going to Outworld. Like, Sonya is coming along because Kenshi and Cyrax are lost in Outworld, and she wants to find them and rescue them, bring them home. Jax is only coming to Outworld to get his hands on Su Hao, so he goes off to look for Su Hao. Kung Lao goes, he seeks out Bo Raicho because, like, now at this point in the timeline, this being Bo Raicho's first game in the series, Kung Lao has never met Bo Raicho before canonically. Like,
Yeah.
this is a thing where in, like, the NRS era games, it's like, oh, Bo Raicho hangs out at the Shaolin Temple. He trained both of them. He's always there. He's always around. That's not how it worked in the original games.
Yeah.
In the original games, Bo Raicho is a hermit who lives in the woods, and Liu Kang had to find him to receive training from him.
Yeah.
Or maybe he went to one of those little dojos that Bo Raicho runs in Shujinko's hometown. I don't know. The what do they call it? The Earthrealm Academy of Martial Arts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Liu had to find, you know, Shujinko's village or Bo Raicho's house outside the village, whichever one. Kung Lao has never done that. Their training diverged at some point in their lives, where Kung Lao wanted to stay with the White Lotus Society. He was all into White Lotus stuff, and that's why he didn't go to the MK1 tournament, because White Lotus stuff. Liu Kang, being more serious about training for the Mortal Kombat tournament, went off to find the legendary Bo Raicho, who had trained people for previous tournaments, such as the great Kung Lao. Well, in Deadly Alliance, when they all get to Outworld, Kung Lao was like, if I'm going to fight Shang Tsung, I should probably train with the guy Liu trained with, because Liu used that training to beat Shang Tsung. And they even go into, like, if you remember the Mortal Kombat 2 demo attract mode screens,
Yeah.
when they show the screen of Liu Kang beating Shang, he's doing the flying dragon kick. They made that canon. They said the move that beat Shang Tsung was the flying kick, and Bo Raicho taught him the flying kick. Therefore, Kung Lao must find Bo Raicho and learn a kick as good as or better than the flying dragon kick.
I also love how in Deadly Alliance, because Liu Kang wasn't in the game, they just gave the flying kick to Sonya.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a passing of the torch. We
she
thought he
has
was never
also
coming back at that point.
she has received training from Liu Kang. Like, that's how she does the bike in 3, right?
Yeah. So, well, they're all, like, kind of there to also avenge Liu. Everybody is.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're obviously the plan is everybody's going to split up and do their own thing, but then they're going to get back together at when they find the Deadly Alliance's palace, so that they can all, as a team, fight the Deadly Alliance. That's the plan. So Sonya has a thing to do, and Jax has a thing to do, and Kung Lao has a thing to do.
But Johnny Cage doesn't.
Johnny Cage, they don't say what the hell he's doing while he's in Outworld. Just fucking nothing.
Like,
What is he, sunbathing?
okay, remind me. We're jumping ahead a little bit here, but there's Shujinko's MK Deception ending, where he's sucking all the energy given to him by all the fighters present.
Yeah.
In the rear right, I'm not remembering right now if it's Mocap or if it's Striker.
Both of them are in the...
Both of them are there.
I believe Mocap is on the far left and Striker's on the far right.
So they're
Yeah.
both present. Okay.
Yeah, they're both there.
Well, I choose to believe that Johnny took Mocap with him, and they had all sorts of crazy adventures that were never expanded on.
Yeah. Mocap is on the left, standing right between, like, Johnny and Jade, and Striker's on the far right, standing behind Sindel. And here's the funny thing: is that you can only see that they're there in the PSP version of the game because the screen is wider. On the home console versions, the screen is cut off just right so that Mocap and Striker are not visible.
You've got to wonder if that was always the intent. Just to mess
Yeah,
with us
like
a little bit.
yeah, some developer snuck them in, and it was like nobody's gonna see it anyway because this is where the screen cuts off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate Unchained for revealing the secret. Now, here's my favorite part: is so there's like glowing energy coming out of everybody, so Shujinko could copy their powers. That includes glowing energy coming out of Stryker. What the fuck are his powers? Did Shujinko get the power of a gun?
The glowing energy is grenades.
Just
Many
infinite grenades
grenades
he can pull out of thin air. Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because that's deception.
No, wait,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
taser.
I'm
It's a
just-
taser. Everyone fires a stream of energy into Shujinko, and Stryker just fires a taser. That's what it is.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that while I was looking at the picture because it was on my mind. But yeah, so the question really is like, how long is Kung Lao training for? Because the other thing is they say Kung Lao actually first like finds Kitana so
And
that he can give her the news that Liu Kang is dead.
Yeah.
And then like Kitana comes with him to train at Bo
and
Raicho's.
she does not like Boraicho's training.
No, she does not finish the training because the training involves Bo Raicho puking on the floor, and she's tired of slipping and puke. It's disgusting.
It's too gross.
doesn't
She
need
whistles
this.
out.
No,
I'd
she
like
leaves.
to imagine she'd be like, "How did Lou put up with this?"
It is a good question, actually. But yeah, so
Saint.
the longer it takes for Kung Lao to train, the more of a question is raised. What the hell was Johnny doing?
So,
I'm
were
telling
they-
you, he and Mocap got lost in Outworld.
All right, they must have been location scouting.
I think Sonya had to put up with him radioing her every 5 hours.
Well, if I remember correctly, did Katana learn the pretty kick from Boraicho, or was that something else?
I would actually need to check that. I don't know if she did or not. Hang on. Let's see.
I seem to remember her learning something from him. You could be right.
I don't actually think the text says that she learned the pretty kick from Bo Raicho. Yeah, because in the the text goes along with these various training exercises. The text for the training exercise where you practice the pretty kick is just about Kung Lao coming to her and telling her Liu is dead. So it's like before her training with Bo Raicho. Let's see. Oh, it says, okay, so it actually says in the text that what she learned from Bo Raicho is how to do style branch combos.
Okay.
So,
Consider it disturbing
it's
that she didn't know that beforehand.
It's just, a gameplay element, and they're, working it into the training mode text in a cutesy way. It's not necessarily canon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, she did not learn the pretty kick from Bo Raicho. But if you want to imagine that she did, I won't stop you.
Okay.
Because the thing that Kung Lao learns from Bo Raicho, again, he's like, teach me something like the Flying Dragon kick, some special kick that I could beat Shang Tsung with. And that's where he learns the Whirlwind kick, which is basically a bike kick, but he's doing a barrel roll.
Did you say that the Great Kung Lao used that move? I believe they did.
I don't think they say that. You might be imagining that.
Might be. I don't know.
Yeah, the if I control F the phrase Great Kung Lao on Kung Lao's Conquest Mode text, 0 results. Great Kung Lao
both the
is
same
not
place.
mentioned. Okay. So anyway, I also wonder what Raiden was doing, because neither him nor Johnny is like up to anything while they're waiting for Kung Lao to finish training.
Well, is Raiden just like observing things or something, like maybe meditating or something?
I don't know. I mean, he could be. I'm just saying there's no text about what he's up to. Maybe he's searching for the Deadly Alliance's palace, trying to figure out where it is so that he can bring the fighters when they're ready,
Yeah. And so Jax is looking for Suhao, but it's like, I guess he just wandering around aimlessly or something, because I assume that happens like
I presume they have ways of like, tracks to follow, like locations where the characters are going to be or have been.
Like Suhao,
something that hard. It's a quantum signature, and I'm going to follow that signature.
There you go.
Suhao meets up with Mavado, who tells him go kill Shang Tsung.
We are we're getting ahead a little bit because there were more, Johnny, Sonya and Jax, Kung Lao, Todd and Raiden. There are 2 other people who are in that group, and those 2 people are Sub-Zero and Frost.
And what are they doing?
Yeah, so the question is why? So I can tell you what Sub-Zero and Frost were doing, but I can't tell you why they split up from the group, unless. So what actually happens is that while Sub-Zero and Frost are in Outworld, they take a Dragonfly. The Dragonfly is one of the arenas in the game, and its lore is that it's a big Leonardo da Vinci flying contraption.
It's a giant arena strapped to the back of a goddamn dragon.
I think it's a mechanical dragon. I think the whole thing is like ancient steampunky tech. But it does have big, wooden canvas dragon wings flapping and stuff like that. It's, like I said, it's a Da Vinci flying machine, but it's the size of an arena. So you take these things. These are like a mode of transportation to get long distances in Outworld. And Sub-Zero and Frost are alone on one of these. When Frost decides, I'm tired of not being the Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei, I'm going to turn on him and take over the clan right now.
And she tries to grab for the medallion, and she gets a hold of that medallion. And it don't go too well for her, because she can't control that medallion.
No, her powers are still weak. There is a plot point in Deception, because she's still in training, that she can't freeze as good as Sub-Zero can. She has to do the puddle move. She can't do the regular ice ball, So when she grabs the medallion and it supercharges her powers which she's already not good with, she accidentally freezes herself in a giant block of ice.
Yeah.
Now my question is, after this happened, how does Sub-Zero get the medallion back? Is it not in the block of ice? I guess her hands were sticking out.
Yeah, I think if I'm remembering it right, she's holding it forward with both hands and looking in horror as she's frozen. It's pretty easy to chip that out of her.
In the image, she's standing in this reaching pose as ice covers her arms, and it's all jagged and stuff. But when they show her in a block of ice later, in Armageddon, she's lying down flat, and it is a square, a rectangle, the shape of this block of ice.
Maybe
he figured she was already dead, added more ice, and made it aesthetically pleasing.
Well, we find out that's
there are circumstances in which that turns out to be she has been frozen in a block of ice a second time, but that's dumb, and I don't want to cover that right now.
Anyway.
Anyway, so Sub-Zero now has frozen protege. He thinks Frost is dead.
And he has to take her somewhere to bury her.
Yeah, he's got to find a nice place to lay her to rest. Now, my question is, so Sub-Zero and Frost are alone on this Dragonfly.
Yeah.
Are dragonflies canonically smaller than they look in arena form, and you can only ride them 2 at a time, and that's why Sub-Zero and Frost are separated from the group? Or did they separate from the group for a different reason and just happen to be on a dragonfly when this occurred?
I think that it's the latter. I believe that he wanted to use this entire excursion as a means to give his students some experience and some perspective, and get her away from Sonya because they're going to kill each other because they hate each other.
I mean, so then they're just on a sightseeing tour of Outworld.
I'm sure that they're doing their own reconnaissance. It's just that Lin Kuei being Lin Kuei, ninjas being ninjas. Sub-Zero would probably work alone, prefer to work alone with his new protege.
Well, so the reason I ask this is because there's another event that happens while Sub-Zero is in Outworld. And I'm not sure whether it's supposed to happen before Frost freezes herself or after.
He meets Serena.
Yes. As Sub-Zero is traveling through Outworld, he randomly bumps into Serena at some village. Like, wherever it is that she landed when she jumped through the portal to escape the Netherrealm, like we talked about last episode.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero happens to encounter her, and he recognizes her from the stories Bihan told him about the events of mythologies.
And he says, well, because you helped my brother, I'll give you a place at the Lin Kuei Temple.
Yeah. So Serena, it doesn't really say if, like, Serena recognizes him, like if she mistakes him for Bihan because they dress the same, and like he's had to explain, that was my brother. He's dead now. But you helped him, so I'll help you. Whatever the case was. Serena, he offers her asylum with the Lin Kuei. And because he's currently busy with this, Deadly Alliance stuff and or possibly big block of frost,
Yeah.
He can't take her to the Lin Kuei Temple. So he gives her what they describe as a device that will lead her there, which I think was a regular compass.
Yeah.
I was going to say yes.
Yes, because the Lin Kuei Temple is at the North Pole. That's where Arctica is. So Serena agrees, okay, I will walk my ass back to the nearest portal to Earthrealm, and I'll go to your temple and wait for you there. But when Sub-Zero leaves, she's like, I'm actually really worried about him. It would be bad for me, if he died or something while he's here in Outworld. So she follows Sub-Zero in secret.
Yeah.
And that won't pay off until the end of Deception. Now, throughout Deception, Sub-Zero is going to be in dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Where the fact that Serena is secretly following him does not come into play. Just keep that in mind for the future. But yeah, so Sub-Zero, after Frost freezes herself, Sub-Zero takes her to the Arctic regions of Outworld, because I guess that's the best place to bury a giant block of ice.
Yeah, but that's stuff for for Deception, I guess.
No, not exactly. It's not actually. It's described in Deception, but it happens at the end of Deadly Alliance. He finds the Cryomancer Caves, which are the ancestral homeland of his ancestors. He figures out that, it's always been a mystery to him, why can the members of my family freeze stuff? And why can Frost freeze stuff when she's not a member of my family? So he finds the Cryomancer tombs, the last remains of an ancient and dead race, and he figures out, okay, well, I guess the last survivors of the Cryomancers escaped to Earthrealm, and they had children, and some of those children are me, and some of those children are Frost. Or their great-grandparents, whatever, way back. Because Sub-Zero knows, his father was a Sub-Zero, and his grandfather was a Sub-Zero, and his great-grandfather was a Sub-Zero, but before the Lin Kuei, he doesn't know where his family got the ice powers. Now he does.
These are events which are depicted and said in Deception, but a lot happens to Sub-Zero during a Deception, and this is pretty much stuff that takes place at the end, because his own actual ending in Deadly Alliance is that, like, he comes back home after beating the Deadly Alliance with an unconscious Frost, and we know that does not happen.
Yeah, no, his arcade ending does not happen. The reason I am bringing up the Cryomancer Caves now is because after the Cryomancer Caves, and after one other event, Sub-Zero walks to the Deadly Alliance's palace because, he's supposed to rendezvous with the other heroes, but he gets there late because of Barry and Frost, and the palace is already exploded and everybody's dead, and he finds Kenshi.
Yeah.
And why Kenshi is there and what state Kenshi is in, we will be getting to in this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Sub-Zero for the entire game of Deadly Alliance. He does not make it in time to be part of the final battle. The last thing he really does is have to deal with Frost.
Yeah.
All died at the hands of Tarkatans, wondering where the hell he went.
And, well, so I guess we'll cover that now. Movado critically injures Kenshi.
Well, yeah, so here's the thing, is that you were about to talk about Suhao and Movado.
Yeah.
So Suhao, meets up with Movado. He after he blew up the OIA base, he reports in to his, commanding officer to receive new orders. That meeting takes place for some reason, not at the Deadly Alliance's palace, but at Shang's summer home with the Acid Buddhas.
Yeah.
And likes to show off his property.
Yeah, I guess. So the thing is, Suhao, when he meets with Movado at the Acid Buddhas, Movado tells him, I have evidence that Shang Tsung is planning to betray Quan Chi. Quan Chi is the actual member of the Deadly Alliance who employs us. We don't work for Shang, we work for Quan. And the evidence is that Shang is keeping Moloch and Draman in the basement of the palace. Did we cover last episode?
Yeah, we did. We did cover that.
Okay, yeah. Shang has found Draman and Moloch living in Outworld now because they escaped the Netherrealm through the portal.
He's made their own bargain with him as a backup plan in case Quan turns on him, which of course he knows that he will. In the meantime is periodically feeding them people.
Yes, he is. They are living in secret in the basement of the Deadly Alliance palace. And Shang keeps, taking random villagers from Li Mei's hometown, presumably, and dumping them down there for the demons to eat. So they stay fed. And Movado has found out that they're down there. And so he tells Suhao, all right, the mission is you're going to go back to the palace and you're going to fucking kill Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
Did not take long at all.
No. So Suhao runs back to the Deadly Alliance's palace.
And that's where Jax finds him.
By the time Suhao gets there, the Boraicho training, all that stuff is done. And the heroes are at the Deadly Alliance palace.
And Jax sees him and goes, I'm gonna get you.
Jax is like waiting at the gates and sees Suhao running by, and he jumps Suhao and rips out his cybernetic heart and kills him.
Straight up. Not even... He murders the guy instantaneously.
Yeah. Look, he's very upset, all right? He's
upset, but, I wonder about that. Like, well, it's a conversation for the future, actually, but I don't know. I feel like Jax would still try to take the guy in. It makes me wonder.
There are layers to it of like I trusted him, and I knew him for years. Like Suhao has been working.
It's believable.
Suhao was working with Sonya and Jax since before MK1. So like there's like I thought we were friends, and you do this, and then there's also the layer of he nuked the base. He killed every employee who serves under Jax. Like that team is Jax's responsibility. He was in charge of them, and they're all dead. So on some level, that's on Jax. Like he's responsible for what happens to them. So
he's not having a good time.
Super upset about that. And here's another thing that the games never mention, but is in my head. Remember a character from Special Forces by the name of Gemini?
Yeah.
You think that he killed her in the explosion?
I think, yeah. So Gemini and Jax had like a real flirty rapport on the radio in that game. And I have to imagine everybody who was on Jax's Special Forces team joined Jax in the OIA, which means Gemini was probably at that base when it got nuked.
Not impossible. Not impossible.
I never mentioned that. I remember.
Certainly would make the murder a lot instantaneously easy to believe, as a matter of fact.
I mean, the other thing is, like, this is like stage 1 in a 2-stage thing where at the end of Deception Unchained, Jax is, like, powered by rage for some reason.
I'll talk a bit more about that because this is exactly why I brought up the Su. This is exactly why I brought up him murdering Su Hao as an aside, because I have my own theories about that, and I'll talk a bit more about them once we get to Armageddon. Out of all things,
Yeah. But the whole idea of like Jax being, I don't know, so angry in his deception ending that he can kill Onaga when like Shujinko needed like the rainbow punches and to smash all the Kamidogus to do it. That ending suggests Jax could just do it on his own.
strongest man on the planet.
I don't necessarily buy it. But the question is raised, like, why is Jax that angry? What were the developers what story did they think they were trying to tell with Jax? Were they going to explain it? Or were they just, like... I almost hesitate to say that they were just trying to posit Jax as a generic angry black man stereotype.
I mean, he did have that unfortunate second outfit with the dragon wing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past them, but I take a more nuanced approach in my MK Armageddon nonsense fan fiction. We'll get to that eventually.
Well, in his Armageddon ending, doesn't he become like a cyborg or something?
There's reasons for that that are not applicable right now.
There's stuff with Sector that
that story involves Sector and is wholly contained within Armageddon. It doesn't play into Deadly Alliance of Deception at all.
Except in my head.
So we're not
in
there.
my head.
So
Jackson Briggs of Earth.
Yeah.
You're
so
capable of great rage.
So we are now at the point where characters are arriving at the Deadly Alliance Palace for the final battles. So Scorpion gets there.
Yeah.
And he sneaks in through the basement and runs into Moloch and Draman.
And he fights well, but he can't quite.
Yeah, he can't win in the 2-on-1. That's all it is.
Those are ugly odds for anyone.
Yeah. So
they realize they can't consume him, so they decide to throw him into the soul.
Yeah, there's some interesting lore stuff here about like they can't eat the flesh of an undead; it won't nourish them.
But they're like, oh, you know what will fuck him up and probably destroy him, and they're theoretically very right about that. Is they decide to throw him into the Soulnado. This plays a lot of cunning on their parts.
Yeah. So the Soulnado, as we established before, is a portal to heaven. So if they throw him in and the souls in the Soulnado don't tear him apart, then he'll be carried to heaven. And Scorpion's body, because it's a hell spawn, he's a specter, a revenant from the Netherrealm. His body can't exist in heaven. You know, it's like the opposite of the rule that's established in mythologies. If a person is too good, they can't travel to hell. You have to have sin to go to the Netherrealm.
You have to be
the opposite is true. You have to be a good person to go to heaven, or else you'll get booted out, or in Scorpion's case, potentially destroyed.
Sometimes, like with Johnny Cage, it's a bit of a gimme. He's earned it.
He did, fight in several, world-ending events on the side of the heroes.
Yeah, well, actually,
be a good person or be Johnny Cage.
Also, like, his worst sin is what? Vanity? That's not a big deal. He's never, like, killed anybody.
Yeah. Actually, well, wait, aren't we at the point where Lee May is, like, wins the tournament?
I will get there. So Scorpion, Scorpion has died many times at this point. He's had his body destroyed. His soul always just goes back to the Netherrealm, and then he can come back out again because he's already undead. You can't kill a dead man.
When you're dead like that, just it's a reset. It's sending him back to home base so he can run the bases yet again. This time it's different.
It is suggested that if the Soulnado were to carry him to heaven and his hellspawn body were to be torn apart, it would also tear apart his soul and destroy him permanently. Fortunately, he wriggles his way out of the Soulnado before it carries him to heaven, and he ends up in the void, the empty space between the realms.
Yeah, and which is where Elder got.
Yeah,
we'll catch up with him next time.
Yes.
In Deception.
Yeah. But needless to say, Scorpion is now watching with the Elder Gods everything that comes next.
Yeah.
So the tournament. Li Mei wanted to defend her village from the Deadly Alliance, so they created a sham tournament and lied to her and told her, we will let your village go if you win. Well, she wins and they don't let her village go.
Basically,
They
like,
let
you're
the
the
village
last one
go
we
to
need.
hell. That's what they let it go.
Everybody who performs well in this village tournament, their souls are stolen and put into mummies because you want good fighter souls for the soldiers.
And they tell her, you're the last one we need.
Yeah, she is the last one left for them to have revived the entire mummy army.
And that is her reward.
Yeah. There's actually, we did skip one thing. So Scorpion went in through the basement, got thrown to the Soldado. Kenshi got there before the heroes did, and he tried to sneak in through the back door, and that's when he ran into Mavado. And him and Mavado have a fight, and Mavado cuts him up real bad and leaves him to bleed to death on the ground.
You know, the guy's got a good track record for his fights. He's overlooked. He fucked up Cabal, he fucked up Kenshi. The guy's good at what he does.
Here's a point I would make. Mavado is a professional assassin. He is theoretically the most professional assassin that we've had in the series to date. Like, you know, he's of the same cloth as B. Han, someone who takes a lot of pride in their work.
Because
they do it at a very, you know, high level. They are the best assassins in the world. And the money that they make doing it reflects that. Which is why someone like Quan Chi would go to them as opposed to any other assassin. But Mavado has this habit of, like, Cabal and Kenshi both survived. Like, he didn't finish the job. He left them bleeding out and walked away, and they come back.
I'm saying he's a good fighter. I'm saying he's great at getting it done, but he's not so good at finishing the job.
I'm just saying.
It's like Bond villain stupidity, where it's like, you know, they have the hero or heroine, like, subdued, and they go, and then they leave. They're like, you ever notice how bad guys always leave at these critical moments? Oh, well.
Yeah, but he's not strapping them to a laser. He's cutting them up with hook swords. And my question,
bleed out.
I'm just saying, he's paid to be the best killer, not the best fighter. If it was me, I would take the head. You know, finish the job. Make sure.
Well, one of those two decisions is going to come back and haunt him very, very shortly.
It is. That's true. So Kenshi is, you know, out for now. Sub-Zero will find him when he arrives at the palace, but that's deception. Mavado is rewarded for his good service by actually, we covered this last episode. Him fighting Kato, and you know, winning. In the picture, he kicks him into the lasers, but in the actual canon, he took him captive in the Red Dragon's experiment on Kano.
That's 3 for 3. Every fight Mavado's been in so far, he's taken.
Yeah, but he's 0 for 3 on kills.
his luck's about to run out, though, but we'll cover that next time.
Yeah. So yeah, Kano is, you know, captured by the Red Dragons. There's something interesting about the fact that fight takes place at Quan Chi's his weird fortress with the spiderweb lasers. And it's the fact that in Deception, there is a stage called the Chamber of Artifacts. And the Chamber of Artifacts shares a lot of architectural elements, like it's reusing assets from Quan Chi's fortress. And the reason for that is not explained in the actual, like, bio. But if you look at, like, concept art stuff that's throughout the crypt, it is said that the Chamber of Artifacts is actually, or was, originally intended to be part of Quan Chi's fortress. The idea being that because the Red Dragons now work for Quan Chi, he is sharing his fortress with them. They're using it as a base of operations. I just wanted to throw that out there because there's probably not going to be any other time when it would come up.
So noted.
Yeah.
So what we were at, Lee May was like, her soul is like just starting to inhabit the last mummy, but that's when Baraicho saves her.
Yes.
That's when the heroes show up en masse.
Boraicho is the first one
Actually-
to enter
no.
the fortress.
No, Baraicho meets with Raiden and the others as he's carrying Lee May to safety.
Well, yeah, Boraicho gets there first, whatever the case may be. Somehow, despite Kung Lao trading with him and then leaving that trading, okay, I'm going to go off and fight the Deadly Alliance now. Kung Lao, left the dojo first, but Boraicho got to the palace first.
Somehow.
I'm going to
Somehow.
say, this is why I say en masse. They go there and someone scouts ahead. Maybe Bo goes ahead first, gets her, comes back. It's fucked up. You guys go take care of this.
Yeah, whatever's going on, they must have had to meet up at the front gate, gather together. Boraicho goes in first. He rescues Li Mei before her soul can be completely put in the mummy. He interrupts an active soul steal.
Yeah.
Carries her out. Now here's the problem. The Deadly Alliance just saw a big fat guy run in, grab their victim, and run away. Guards, get him! Boraicho is being chased by an army of Tarkatans. He gets away. The heroes now run into a wall of Tarkatans, and they all fucking die. Boraicho killed the party.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
But let's well, before we do that, I guess we should talk. Before we cover the events of that battle, it's I guess we should go back to Nitara and Cyrax because that's what's happening.
Yeah, we should also just mention for the record that at some point, everyone regrouped along with Johnny. They found his ass.
Yeah.
They all got back together.
Yeah. The hero party minus Sub-Zero and Frost.
Here's what I always imagined
Raiden's group and Boraicho got together.
I always assumed they said, okay, when they were about to go, they go, "This is for Lou." I always imagined.
Maybe.
Well, I'm sure it came up. There's in Katana's arcade ending, she visits she goes to Goro's funeral, and so she's thinking about Liu Kang and Goro both being dead. I don't know if that funeral ever got to happen, or if she was there for it, because this happened instead, or if the funeral was before the fight.
Yeah.
I think in the ending it would have been after the fight, after Quad and Cheng were defeated, but
since that didn't happen,
probably be a better moment if you were actually adapting this story mode, if you actually put the funeral in the story mode.
Yeah, it would have been nice, but there was probably no time for her to actually attend a full-on Shokan burial ceremony and get everything else done that she had to do.
She left the training early, right? She had maybe a week or two. We don't know how long they were in Outworld. How long, that's my question, how long does it train to learn a new Kung Fu move? And also, is that all he learned for Boraicho? He's just show me one kick and I'm good? Or were they there for 6 weeks getting real good at the Kung Fu? Martial arts is not necessarily fast.
Bruce Lee said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 1,000 punches once each. I fear the man who has practiced one punch 1,000 times."
I think it was kicks, actually.
He said kick, yeah, but you get the gist. You
pedantic fuck. You know what I mean. Let's keep going.
That's what I'm saying. So, where were we?
Heroes dying.
Interrupted my train of thought. No, we were going to talk about Reptile and Nitara and Cyrax.
See, that's where we should end it off with. That's the major winding down of this entire saga.
Well,
the thing is,
how Onaga comes back before the ending.
Yeah, Onaga gets there while there's fighting at the palace. So this probably happened before, and then he had time to walk. So we covered last time how Nitara got Cyrax to follow her and screwed over Reptile. So Nitara leads Cyrax to the lava shrine, and there is some geography here where like the lava shrine is in the mountains that you can see from the drum arena. It's not really important. It's just like in Blaze's ending, he's in the drum arena. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they go into the lava shrine, and the whole thing is there's an orb down there that will free Natara's realm, and Cyrax's armor is apparently lava proof.
And he goes down and gets the orb that's holding her round.
So here's my question, actually. The game never says. The game says that Blaze is in the lava shrine protecting the dragon egg.
Yeah.
But it never says if he shows up and fights Natara and Cyrax, which you think he would have to, right?
Yeah, because as soon as Onaga
Not necessarily.
Well,
Blaze
if there's
just
so much
falls.
as in the lava shrine, and Blaze is under a mind control spell, so he's not like going to, be logical about it. He's just going to go intruders. I fight intruders, and then he gets them. So they must fight and beat Blaze.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't. I never actually saw it that way. I think all of this shit actually happened before he had time to activate.
I can't imagine that Cyrax swimming blind in magma was a fast thing. Also, if
the
Blaze
absence of
doesn't...
actually it being described that Blaze fights people, I don't know. I'm very aware of inserting my own headcanon here into this. It makes sense what you're saying, but I feel like that alone would be something worth noting.
Let me make this point.
Outlining.
You want strongly to believe that Mocap came along with Johnny, even though nothing in the game says he does.
For shits and giggles, I'm half kidding.
I'm just saying the story as presented is Mocap is a motion capture guy. He works on Johnny's movies, and that's it.
And he does the motion capture.
It says nothing about him coming to Outworld or participating in events. But he is in the game. And therefore, if the game had a story mode, you would want to see him in that story mode, right?
Granted, yes.
Okay, well, Blaze is also in this game. And yet, he doesn't fight anybody unless it's Natara and Cyrax.
Yeah.
It's just a weird omission to leave out of any ending or any mention of it whatsoever. Maybe it was done intentionally because he was a quote-unquote hidden character.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you put Blaze in somebody's arcade ending, then it would spoil the fact that Blaze is in the game before you've unlocked him.
Yeah. And, well,
I just think narratively, if you're going to have a big dramatic moment where these two characters finally arrive at their destination, and they, all Cyrax has to do is swim and find an orb. It's not a big challenge, apparently, even though he's blind, and how does his armor survive lava? Because the other thing is, like, this is... I do want to point out, like, this is the game where Cyrax has human parts in his alternate costume. Like, we're now establishing that some of his primary is just clothing. Like, the helmet comes off and there's a head with flesh in there, How does that not bake inside the oven?
It's airtight. How do Cabal's powers work?
What is convection?
There are some things you don't question.
If
you wades through lava. Suspension of disbelief.
If you put a human being in a metal box and you drop that metal box in a volcano, the lava won't touch him, but he'll cook anyway.
He's got the skin, but how much of a man is there underneath?
Maybe there are force fields involved. Maybe
he carries around a lightsaber. So sure.
Whatever the case, the actual getting of the orb is easy. So I think for dramatic purposes, if you're going to tell this as a story, then you need to cap off that story by having Natara and Cyrax fight something. And the chamber they're in happens to be guarded.
Yeah.
Whether Blaze fights them or not, Cyrax gets the orb, comes back out. Natara holds up her end of the bargain and sends him back to Earth Realm.
So Blaze's ending. Blaze's ending literally just says, having been enslaved through sorcery to guard the molten incubation chamber, Blaze was finally freed once the dragon egg had hatched. He then resumed the quest he had undertaken before being subdued by his captors.
Yes, and the picture
he's just in
is
the
him.
lava.
He's at the drum arena burning a bunch of people alive. I guess those people are the Dragon King's priests. I guess that's where they live when they're not inside the shrine chanting at the egg or whatever they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't say anything except after the egg hatches, he's free, and then he does stuff.
Yep.
He fucks off.
What that was, they probably hadn't decided yet.
Yeah, they had not. I assure you that even during Deception, they had not decided yet, because there's a gag mission Shujinko undergoes where Blaze tells him, I can't remember what my quest was before those fuckers made me guard that egg. Find me a memory potion so I can remember what I'm supposed to do.
People had seen that
and then when
and were wondering what the hell his quest was.
Yeah. Nobody, his whole story is, I was on a special quest and I got waylaid by these dragon priests. And now I'm back on my quest, because that's done. But what is the quest? Big mystery. Well, you get the memory potion, you give it to him, and he says, thanks, I remember my quest, and he walks away. And he does not tell you what the quest is. So they had definitely not figured out what Blaze's deal actually is until the making of Armageddon.
I swear to God, had there been more room in future MK games, I feel like Moloch and Drummond getting that which they need to feast would have been the greatest running joke. I would have loved it.
I assure you, it's a knife and fork.
It absolutely is a knife and a fork, or a plate. Some combination of cutlery and dinnerware.
It is definitely just utensils. So, I just want to point out that it's, Nitara is presented as a villain in, I don't know, media? That's the general image of her that people have for some reason.
I think that's the image people have of vampires in general.
Well, yeah, there is that. She does drink blood and whatnot.
She's motivated entirely by self-interest.
I just want to point out that, she kept her word. She could have sent Cyrax to the wrong place. But no, she did, in fact, send him back home to Earthrealm.
No, she's not maliciously evil. She's just out for the self, and a deal is a deal.
She is explicitly neutral alignment.
Yeah.
In fact, there were alignments listed in the 3D era, and hers is given as neutral, not good, not evil. Nitara is not a bad guy. She's a wild card.
Yeah. And, so she breaks the orb, which sends her back to her realm.
Frees Vaeternus.
And then at that moment, Reptile leaps in, having just missed them.
Yeah. I do want to point out that Nitara and Vaeternus will not be mentioned in Deception. They do have their own little subplot in Armageddon. But I feel like
it's a bio.
I feel like there's a missed opportunity here.
Armageddon? A missed opportunity?
No, I mean in Deception. I think Nitara could have been in Deception if, say, the egg hatched and Reptile became Onaga before she could smash the orb, and maybe Onaga stole the orb from her and got some power off of it or something like that, and then there's a reason for her to still be an Outworld. Where I'm going with this is that
you just really like Nitara.
There is a problem in Mortal Kombat storytelling with realms like Edenia and Vaeternus, where once they are their own free, separate place, it becomes very difficult to write the characters who are from there back into the story. Because the story is inherently always going to be about Earthrealm being attacked by someplace, usually either Outworld or the Netherrealm.
Yeah.
And so any realm that's not Earth, Outworld, or the Netherrealm has it's really hard to get them in there. Like Order Realm and Chaos Realm, we only really ever see them in one game because Shujinko has a reason to travel there in his RPG mode that is completely separate from the main plot of the game. Like, Order Realm and Chaos Realm don't really have anything to do with the arcade bios and endings in Deception. You know? Other than, it's where Hotaru and Havoc are from.
Having a background like that would require the plot to actually bring us there, to have events unfold there, to make it an actual part of an ongoing story. And we're quite simply, never getting a Mortal Kombat with Vaeternus.
What I am suggesting is I just think it's probably a mistake to introduce a character whose goal is to free her realm and have her succeed at her goal in her very first game.
Most likely.
It probably should have been a long, ongoing thing where when she comes back each game, she's still trying to free Eternus. Maybe you have her actually succeed at it in her third appearance, Then you get more time with her, more potential out of her. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, yes. So Cyrax is at home. The orb is smashed. Nitara teleports away because her realm is free.
Reptile.
Yeah, he was hunting the two of them, but he gets there too late. And coincidence of coincidences.
That's when the egg hatches, and he's raiding the path.
Yes, is it a coincidence? Or did
that's the
presence trigger something?
The egg does not contain a baby dragon. It contains the ghost of Onaga. Mm-hmm. And when it hatches, Onaga possesses Reptile and transforms Reptile's body into Onaga's body. And I want to be clear about this, because this is something that there's been some conversation about around the time of the MKX comic. The writer Sean Kittleson wanted to have Goro become a host for Onaga in that timeline. And what he imagined was that that version of Onaga would look more like Goro, and that he'd have 4 arms and everything.
Yeah.
But so people sort of have this image in their head that whatever Onaga possesses looks half like that character and half like Onaga. But that is not how it works. When Reptile turns into Onaga, he turns all the way into Onaga. The way Onaga looks in Deception when he's in Reptile's body is exactly the same as the corpse that's in the tomb, which is exactly the same as Onaga looks in Armageddon when he's no longer possessing Reptile. When he's back in his body, the corpse in the tomb, that's the body he's using in Armageddon, and yet he still looks like he did in Deception.
More than likely, this assumption would come from people looking at the concept art for the Dragon King and Raiden's ending in MKDA, thinking that's the original form, not realizing it was a work in progress, and then building on this theory, as you've said.
Yeah, that Raiden ending into that Deadly Alliance was just at a point where they hadn't finalized what they wanted Onaga to look like yet, that's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just to be clear, when Onaga possesses Reptile, he's 100% Onaga. But I do want to bring up, the game kind of hints. Okay, so there's like the Reptile is like a big iguana man in Deadly Alliance, right? He has a different body than he had in MK4 or in the original arcade trilogy. And there's like this picture in the crypt of like the evolution of man, but it's Reptile's forms. And so people have speculated and imagined how the de-evolution works. And there is text in Deadly Alliance where Nitara has a theory that the reason Reptile is devolving is because the Zaterran society is a magic-based matriarchy where their queen is like responsible for their evolution, and so because Reptile his species is dead and he's been separated from any kind of queen his whole life, that's why he's devolving. But like I said, that is a theory that Nitara has. the game kind of implies that the real reason Reptile's been devolving is that Onaga has been planning to take over that body for a while and has somehow been magically causing it to become a more suitable host body.
Where's the implication?
Well, I think in like Sindel's ending, when when Onaga is out of Reptile, you see Reptile is like back in his like MK.
Yeah. When Reptile is freed, he's no longer the Deadly Alliance body. He goes straight back to either MK2 or in Armageddon they use the Shaolin Monk's body.
Yeah.
You know, the de-evolution has been completely reversed. He's intelligent again. You know, he's not hallucinating anymore. He doesn't have a tail anymore. His head isn't triangular anymore. It all wears off the moment Onaga is kicked out of him. Also, Chameleon's not devolving.
Well, she's a matriarch.
We don't know. No, we don't know that she's like a queen or has that magic. She's just a female Zaterran.
By default, she's probably the last one left. I'd say she's probably inherited that role.
I think you need to know some kind of magic to do this. Like, why would just being near a queen cause a species to evolve? The queen has to be a wizard for this to make sense.
I'm pretty sure it's... Hang on a second.
And that, I assure you... No, actually, there is... In the Armageddon endings, I hate to go to the Armageddon endings because the vast majority of them are complete garbage and don't make sense. But in the Armageddon endings... Reptile's ending specifically, if he beats Blaze, the pyramid like grants his wish, and his wish is it presents him with a Zaterran queen so that he can bring back the species. And this Zaterran queen is not Chameleon. It is a completely separate and new person. So there is nothing in the game that says Chameleon is a matriarch or possesses whatever a queen needs to be in control of the evolution thing.
No, there's not, but meh. I always kind of figured that she would fit that role.
I mean, it would make sense, but for some reason they're not taking that. Like,
it is an explanation if assuming Natara's theory was true as to why she's not devolving. That's all I'm saying.
If all Reptile needs to not devolve is to be around Chameleon, I feel like they could have solved that problem. Which is why I think that explanation for the devolving isn't even true, and it's actually just Onaga doing it.
Could be. The ambiguity is part of the fun,
I suppose.
And so Onaga, I guess according to Conquest, that's where he goes and confronts Shujinko in the...
he as soon as he takes over Reptile's body, he immediately goes to the Nexus to get the Kamidogus and chases Shujinko away.
But we'll cover that next time, because that's technically deception.
So back to the main heroes at the Deadly Alliance Palace. There is some fan debate because Kung Lao and Kitana's conquest modes
state that they fight Shang Tsung and Quan Chi.
Yes, but the opening of Deception shows their bodies on the bridge outside the palace, along with Jax and Sonya and Johnny, with weapons sticking out of them, dead on the ground because of the Tarkatans. Yeah. So it seems like the ends of their conquest modes have been retconned or contradicted.
When you're at a level where you're entirely given room to interpret and mishmash those two things together as you see fit, and you still see fit to say one thing is canon, one's not, I think it's very possible, extremely possible, that the entire fight might have actually taken place outside, and they were the last two people standing.
It is.
It does not need to be as complicated as that.
Although one thing I have to wonder is, like, if they did fight, why does Shang Tsung not take their souls?
What I would like to point out is those conquest modes that say they fought, those conquest modes say Kung Lao and Kitana win, and we know that doesn't happen. So why is it such a stretch to say the whole fight doesn't happen?
Parts of things happen, parts of endings happen, other parts of endings don't happen. This has never been the logic that Mortal Kombat has used. You know this.
That is case by case. It always has been.
Don't see why that wouldn't apply here.
I just think the opening of Deception is trying to tell us the Tarkatans got them. That's what I think the developers intended when they made that intro.
It is entirely possible that they straight up forgot about the Conquest text.
And that's
I think it would probably be a better story if Kung Lao and Kitana do get the fight. They just get beaten.
If you just close your eyes, squint, and imagine their bodies next to Raiden as he's fighting them, all is well.
Well, I always assumed what you could do is that after like that happened, like Sonya, Jackson, and Johnny Cage die outside, like Shang Tsung and Quan Chi drag Kung Lao and Kitana's bodies out and throw them down the stairs to where they're supposed to be, and they tell Raiden, "Are you going to surrender?" And that's when Raiden challenges them in the Mortal Kombat, which leads us into the Deception opening where he's fighting them
back in the palace.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to imagine it, I'm fine with that. I just want the listener to know, here's what the images show, here's what the text says. This contradicts that, you know?
Surprise, surprise. Mortal Kombat has contradictions with a K.
Well, the funny thing is, like, it's very hard to see the bodies of the heroes in the Deception opening.
It's not so hard now that you've got AI up-resing.
Yeah.
And you can go frame by frame.
But when it first came out, it was like people didn't know.
Oh yeah, it's totally like it's blurry and it's the camera's whooshing by as rain and lightning flash in the dark. Like, there's no way in the actual game you can be sure who's on those steps.
Jax is pretty fairly visible, but I don't think I've ever actually managed to like make out Johnny's body at all in all the times I've watched that opening.
I think, and the other thing is like now that we have the up-resing and the freeze framing, you can even see weapons sticking out of them, like there's a spear in Jax's body or whatever.
Yeah, I think Kitana's laying on her side or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think she's like kind of rolling down the steps almost.
Yeah. And, well, I guess that's where we cover. Raiden fights the Deadly Alliance, and he puts up a good fight, but just isn't quite able to beat them.
I mean, this brings us...
This is now firmly into Deception territory.
This brings us to the opening of Deception, yes. Well, Raiden being the last one standing and fighting the DA.
And the Deadly Alliance is basically the opening of Deception.
Yeah, they are explicitly part 1 and part 2 of the same story.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume next time we get together, we're going to start getting into Deception.
Well, we can cover the opening of Deception because that's basically the end of Deadly Alliance, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we need to cover the opening of Deception?
Well,
everyone fucking dies except for Onaga.
Yeah, people can watch it. I do want to, like, there's a couple points of contention, like people claim they can see Quan Chi running away and disappearing.
He makes a lunge. He makes a lunge toward Raiden as it explodes.
He starts to run behind Raiden, but he never actually disappears. I've been through it. Frame by explosion goes off. There is not a teleport.
Yeah. Well, also, it's like somehow Onaga got his hands on the amulet.
I will actually, because I had this conversation recently in the comments of one of our YouTube videos. Somebody pointed me to a video where it looks like it's one of the many AI up-reses of the Deception intro. In this particular video, it looks like Quan Chi does disappear a frame or two before the explosion goes off. But I want to point out that this one video, I don't even remember what channel it was, but I know one of the videos out there, it's because the AI has made things blurry. It has erased Quan Chi from a scene he's not supposed to be erased from. If you watch other AI up-reses of the intro and you compare them to a not up-res version of the intro, and you click through it frame by frame through a YouTube video by using the caret keys, comma and period, they have the little side arrows. Those are the keys you use to go one frame at a time in a video. If you watch most copies of the Deception opening, you can see Quan Chi does not disappear. He's still there when they all blow up.
It never happened. It was made up by a writer. We got you.
Not this time. So, Quan and Shang die. Raiden dies, blows himself up, blows them up. I want to point out.
By the way,
that
some pretty good logic here is that Quan Chi's been vaporized and hasn't teleported anywhere because Onaga still has the goddamn amulet.
Yes.
If Quan Chi had gone somewhere, the amulet which he was wearing on his person would have gone with him.
Yes, absolutely. That is more proof Quan Chi could not have teleported away, because if he had, Onaga would not be able to grab the amulet.
Yeah.
So anyway, one other thing I want to point out about the explosion of the palace, because the game doesn't actually say what happened to Draman and Moloch, but they were in that palace when it blew up, right?
Yeah.
And the next time we see them in Taven's conquest mode, they're in the Netherrealm. So they got blowed up too. I just want to be clear on that.
One thing I'm questioning is that when does Onaga resurrect the heroes before or after the explosion?
I think it says that Onaga. I think it says Onaga reses them as he's walking up to the palace, like on the bridge, passing by their bodies. I think he just doesn't bring them in with him, and so they are outside the blast.
I personally don't remember reading that he did it beforehand. I've really, actually, to be honest, quite really thought about the order of things as they take place just that particular moment. But I would assume that he just takes care of business first and resurrects them all later. I don't know. If it says that somewhere, I'd love to know.
I can't remember exactly where it is, but I'm pretty sure there's a piece of text that says as he was walking up, he raised them, or what,
Well, it's maybe one of the Deception bios.
Yeah.
Well, Jade is apparently kneeling by Katana, and she leaps out of sight when she hears Onaga.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Jade is apparently there. Like, Tanya is there and Baraka is there, and they don't mention it until the next game. Like, Jade was apparently also with Katana the whole time and did nothing.
I can assume that, like, Jade accompanied Tanya for, like, or tag along for the ride. Jade Katana.
It actually says Jade's bio starts with the words, "I had arrived too late. Katana and her allies from Earthrealm had been slain in an epic battle against the Deadly Alliance."
Literally hears the Katana's going to risk her life. No, I gotta help my friend. Runs after her.
Yeah. So Jade was like back at the camp with the other Edenians and Shao Kahn from when they were fighting Shao Kahn, and she arrived late, just like Sub-Zero.
It is Baraka who first confronts Tanya and gives her the ultimatum to serve Onaga. And let's see,
Okay, yeah.
Tanya is already there, but like her bio says that when Baraka catches up with her, he gives her a choice to serve his new lord or die. But she just happened to be just next door. What?
Well, so here's the thing: is that Li Mei's village is across from the palace by this like big chasm, and that the bridge crosses that chasm. So Tanya was probably back in Li Mei's village, like supervising the enslaving of Li Mei's people and whatnot, collecting taxes. Yes. So yeah, actually, Jade's bio says, when she got there, she found Katana dead. As I knelt beside her, a menacing dragon-like creature strode across the bridge to the palace. I leapt out of sight and watched as he resurrected the dead and ordered them to regroup near the living forest. I followed them in secret. So Onaga got to the bridge. He raised the 5 heroes the Tarkats had killed. he told them to leave, and then he went inside to face Quan Sheng and Raiden.
Yeah.
So that's the order of events.
Right.
But I guess we've covered just about everything.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that we got Moloch and Draman also blew up in there, because, just the fate of every character that's on this roster and where they are at the end of this game.
Because they're going to be real important for future events.
Yeah. Shang Tsung, dead. Bo Raicho with Li Mei. Quan Chi, dead. Li Mei with Bo Raicho. Scorpion, in the void. Yeah. Sonya, dead. Kenshi, bleeding out. Mavado, dead. Johnny Cage, actually, Mavado's... When does Cabal kill Mavado? We don't know.
We can cover that next time, though.
Yeah.
Smoke.
Johnny
inert.
Cage, dead.
Noob Saibot, scheming.
I'm going through the Deadly Alliance character select screen. They're not on it.
I'm fucking with you.
All right, Johnny's dead. Sub-Zero's late. Kato's captured. Kung Lao's dead. Natara went home. Draven's dead. Suhao's dead. Frost is in a block of ice. Jax is dead. Katana's dead. Raiden's dead. Reptile is Onaga. Cyrax went home. Blaze is free. Mocap may or may not have been there. Apparently isn't dead.
I'm going to say that he's also killed him in the onslaught, and Onaga has him mop floors.
Noob Saibot, I actually wonder where he was after Shao Kahn died. I mean, he didn't work for the Deadly Alliance, so I guess he just fucked off.
Yeah.
Serena, following Sub-Zero. Sector. We didn't talk about Sector.
Most of his stuff has nothing to do with the Deadly Alliance story.
But it happened during Deadly Alliance, and therefore we cover it
now.
Sector,
yes, Sector is a very interesting and fun footnote in the MK Deadly Alliance saga. He is absolutely a part of it by dint of his inclusion in Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition. He is very much around.
The Game Boy version of Deadly Alliance, Sector is a character, and here's what happens to him. So, Sector, I'll just read it. Sector's programming had become corrupted during his many violent battles with Outworld forces. I presume that's a reference to MK3.
Yep.
His new objective was to eliminate the inferior Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei and control the clan himself. Which we would not find out until MK9 that the Grandmaster is his dad, by the way. But it is. So I just want to point out here, Sector is not acting out of free will. He's acting because he's malfunctioning. He is still under Cyber Initiative programming. So he succeeded in slaying the former leader, but was prevented from acquiring the powerful Dragon Medallion by Sub-Zero, who defeated Sector in an intense battle. Sector then fled to Japan to form his own clan of cybernetic ninjas.
And his ending doubles down on that. Sector succeeded in finding new recruits willing to undergo the process to become cyborgs, and secretly created a home base for his new clan in Japan. Like a virus, Sector's new faction of... My eyes are going, I'm getting old. Sector's new faction of ninjas grew in number, and their presence in that nation became cause for alarm. Soon, all of Japan would be controlled by the Takunin.
So, I just want to point out that Sector is Chinese, not Japanese. So when he moves to Japan to form his new clan with Blackjack and hookers, it's because he hates Japan and wants to fuck them over.
There is, to be very fair, a lot of history there.
Yeah. The Shirai Ryu are Japanese. You know, the ancient enemies of the Lin Kuei?
It really is worth noting just to sit there and take that down, because this actually does become pertinent to Armageddon in a couple of games' time.
Oh yeah. The Takunin exists in Armageddon. This happens.
This is he's got like warships flying around the world, or at least one of them. He assimilated Japan like a Borg.
I do think
it really is frightening just how much he accomplishes in this one tossed off ending in bio. It's more than most villains get in the series.
If you're looking for willing recruits for a cyberpunk transhumanist organization, Japan might be the best place to find them.
I've seen my fair share of anime where it's the latest trend to get, I don't know.
Yeah, the sales pitch is, hey, do you want to be in Ghost in the Shell?
Put this microchip under your skin. Nazca! Real hardcores will get that.
Well, come back to
That's a
Sector
deep cut reference. Nobody's gonna know.
Yeah, but we don't come back to Sector till Armageddon, though.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
but
no.
Isn't this just the coolest thing? Isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. I think now we are actually done Deadly Alliance.
Yeah.
Yes, that is all that we need to cover until next time when we actually get to Deception.
Yeah. Because I think then, who knows? That's well, that's going to be fun because we're just going to go into what a bunch of these other characters were doing. Who they do explain why this character wasn't around, what this character was doing. Like if they were in Deception, but not Deadly Alliance, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of catching up that happens with people that we haven't seen in a long time in Deception. We find out that where Smoke's been down in a dungeon. We know that Melina's been down in a dungeon.
I mean, we saw Melina. We saw how Melina ended up in that dungeon at the end of Gold, right?
Yeah, we did. But it's Deception that tells us that yes, that actually happened.
Well, there's
no ambiguity about it.
There was going to be a comic for Deception, but it looks like I think it got canceled.
Oh, it got shit canned. It did not even make a single issue.
Yeah, there is a copy of it out there, but it's black and white. Like it never got to the coloring stage. And it's just the one issue. And it doesn't really tell you anything. It just kind of recaps what happens in a couple of the arcade bios, like
Sub-Zero's it's Noob finding Smoke, it's Sub-Zero and stuff
finding
like
Kenshi,
that.
And
yeah. But I think we've covered everything, so
yeah.
All right, well, I guess we'll just wrap it up there for now, and we'll come back next time with Deception.
Works for me. I'm hungry.
Yeah. See you later, nerds.
Have a nice day.
Yep.